From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. All right, a couple of headlines to start our day out here. Just some thoughts. You know what? Somebody tell the Orange Menace to stop saluting the flag. I know this is, in the whole scheme of things, this is not that important. But it's so annoying. The only people who are supposed to salute the flag are those who served in uniform, served in the military. I think cops and first responders, I'm not sure, I have to look that up. But I know for sure that he ain't one of them. He's never worn a uniform. Not yet, anyway. I expect him to wear some Nazi uniform any day now. But no, yeah, that's the code. There's a whole big code around the flag, you know? Civilians are supposed to put their hand over their heart. Only people who've worn the uniform are allowed to salute the flag. So every time he does it, it's a case of stolen valor. And you know what? That offends me. Because as much as I deplore war, as much as I deplore most military policy, I will never, ever insult or disparage those who serve or those who served. Ever. And every time he salutes the flag, it's stolen valor. It's an insult to those he's supposed to serve as commander-in-chief. Now, I know he's too dumb. He's too stupid. He doesn't know anything. So he probably doesn't know that he's insulting them. But I guarantee you, if he did know, he wouldn't care. I know. It's a dumb, small story. It's just bugging me. Gregory Bovino is a name you're going to want to know, if you don't know it already. He's, I don't know his exact title, he's head of border control. And he always wears this, speaking of Nazi uniforms, he looks like a, God help me. Anyway, he's in the news this week because he's been promoted. He and the whole border control outfit are taking the lead now away from ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. These roving patrols, sweeping people up off the street. Well, as you know, it's kind of a mix, right? It's some border control, it's some ICE, it's some FBI, it's this weird amalgam of federal police that Stephen Miller has fashioned into his own private domestic military. Well, apparently, the guys in border control are much more aggressive, much more willing to break the law, to rough people up in this non-targeted mass deportations. Just in the streets terrorizing people. Now with from $75 to $100 billion more from the big bad bill to help them do it. Brand new, highly sophisticated surveillance capabilities, hardware, military vehicles, ammunition, all of it. All the Proud Boys who were told to stand back and stand by now have jobs in this deadly paramilitary. And the news this week is that Gregory Bovino, and his border control are taking the lead away from ICE. I guess they weren't being reckless enough. That's what Stephen Miller wants. He wants terror on the streets. So yeah, know that name, Gregory Bovino. Those of you who know history, you know the names Himmler, Goebbels, Hermann Goering, Albert Speer, Hess, Eichmann, etc. Yeah. History buffs know those names. And most of us hear them and, yeah, that rings a bell. Well, Tom Homan, Gregory Bovino, Russell Vogt, and especially Stephen Miller will be the names for a new generation of history buffs. Just a reminder, there's an event in Washington, D.C. You want to mark your calendar. November 22nd. Remove the regime. Now, I don't know where else this is happening. I want you to check with your people, as I always ask you to do. Impeach, convict, remove. Impeach, convict, remove. That's the simple message for this event. In D.C., there will be congressional visits. There'll be a rally and a march. Live entertainment featuring the Dropkick Murphys. Nice. So, November 20th through the 22nd, get yourself to Washington, D.C., and check with your people, see if there are any local events happening where you are. Yeah, we've been talking here a little bit more about impeachment. We have to keep that on the front burner. Don't let anybody tell you that impeachment is off the table. It's not. My weekly reminder to turn your back on corporate media, please. They're just getting worse every day. I saw a clip of Kristen Welker, host of Meet the Press, refer to Pete Hegseth as the Secretary of War. Why would you do that, Kristen Welker? Why would you call him the Secretary of War? Just because the orange meat puppet told you to? There's been no official name change. Congress didn't do anything. They just announced it and put it on the stationery. How does that determine what you say? You're supposed to tell the truth, Kristen Welker. Again, I know this is small, but we just can't have crap like this. The entire White House press corps is just lost now. It's 90% North Korea now. The best we can hope for. The milquetoast Caitlin Collins of CNN or the embarrassing Jonathan Karl of ABC. Yeah, it's over. As far as the press goes at the White House, it's just over. He looked him right in the eye last week and said, "No, we don't need approval from Congress to destroy the boats off the coast of South America. No, we'll just kill them, like dead." That's a quote. And some reporter needed to stand up and say, "Under what authority do you have? Could you can just kill people now? Could you kill me right here, right now? Could you just kill me?" Yeah, that's what a reporter needs to do. Sure, it'll be their last day in the White House. Sure, they'll be fired. I know that. Doesn't anybody have any courage around here? Have a column and a podcast on Substack. You'll do fine. You'll be famous. Somebody stand up to the guy. Jesus. You may have seen the headline this week. Amazon planning another 14,000 job cuts. This 14,000 from the corporate suites. It was just a week or two ago, they announced more than 500,000 jobs will be replaced by robots. So AI is taking over the white-collar jobs at Amazon, and robots are taking the blue-collar jobs at Amazon, the single largest private sector employer in the country. And we'll have to devote more time to this in the future, but I'm all for it. Do you really want to work in an Amazon warehouse? Or be a desk jockey, a computer geek in a 2-acre maze of cubbies for Amazon? Jesus. I can't think of anything more dehumanizing than that. If AI and robots can take most of our jobs without putting the final bullet into the heart of the environment, which is still in question here. Yeah, the use of energy, the use of water in these huge AI data centers. Well, if it's possible, put that aside for a second. Let's imagine a world where AI and robots do take our jobs. I'm all for it. Let humans be humans again. We shouldn't work at a job that a robot can do better. Why would we? We should do the things that humans do. We should teach each other. We should provide health care, child care, elder care, the care culture. Let's care for each other. Let's grow food. Let's put our hands in the dirt. Let's prepare our food. Let's build things. Imagine the satisfaction of building a piece of furniture, of building a house, even though robots can do it better. Who cares? Imagine the status that a human handcrafted rocking chair would have in that world. Yeah, let's make things. Let's make art. Let's make music. Let's do science. And best of all, we can get rid of the stupid 40-hour work week. Once upon a time, not that long ago, in my lifetime, one 40-hour-a-week job could support an entire family. Why not one 10-hour-a-week job supporting a whole family? Why not a universal basic income? Why not abolish money altogether? This hand-wringing and crying about people not having jobs is so stupid. It's great. Yeah, under our current system of wage slavery, we have to have jobs. If we change the system, we wouldn't need jobs. We'd take care of each other. We'd take care of the planet. We'd be humans again. We'd be part of nature again. Yeah, bring it on. Well, okay, let's take a step back. I need to say something. You know, every once in a while, I feel like we need a reset around here. Let's just remind ourselves who we are and what we're fighting for. The headlines obviously are everyday disasters, and it's hard to step away from the headlines. But those very headlines this week are reminding me that we need to take a deeper dive into what causes all this and what we need to do about it. I'm at the risk of using, labels, they're the worst. I'm a social anarchist. And that just simply means that I advocate for the lateral distribution of power. That's all. That's really all it means. That's all social anarchism means. At least that's all it means to me. There are a lot of different ways you can go about it. If you've read any Noam Chomsky, he's my guy. I'm a Chomskyite. Yeah, lateral distribution of power, not hierarchy. And I believe in this globally. If I could wave my magic wand, borders would be meaningless. They'd still be there. I suppose you could still, you want to live in a town, you want your town to have a name, you want to cheer for your team. Borders in that sense are fine. But prohibiting free travel is a violation of a basic human right. I believe that any person on this globe should have the freedom to come and go into and out of any country they want to. It's a basic human right. If you know me at all, you know that profit has to go. Money has to go. That's a central tenet to my idea of social anarchism, which, by the way, is the ideal. You also likely know my great admiration for the so-called sewer socialists of Milwaukee and Wisconsin. Bernie AOC and Zoran Mamdani of New York would be the modern examples of that movement. Very successful. But yeah, I do want to remind myself and remind you occasionally of where we really want to go. Look at the success of the anarchists during the Spanish Civil War. Yeah, money, profit, have to go. And I got to thinking about it this week, really because of the headlines. The hurricane that hit Haiti, Jamaica, and Cuba reminds me that rich people are never hurt by natural disasters. It's hard to call them natural disasters when they only strike poor people. Oh, sure, rich people can be inconvenienced, but they come out in the end just fine. Nobody in those really nice Jamaican resorts were in any danger. The rich people knew how to get out or where to go. They had resources. The government shut down. All about money, all about resources. Only poor folks are hurt. Another devastating report from the United Nations as we come up to the next climate summit. COP30 is in a couple of weeks, I guess, announcing that we have failed to avoid overshooting the 1.5 Celsius mark. It's absolutely going to happen now with devastating consequences. And so I feel the need for a reset. Money and borders have to go. They're at the root of all of our most serious problems. There's no solution for these problems as long as they exist. The fact that 40 million Americans depend on food assistance, poor people in a rich country, it makes no sense until you look at how the system works, and then, yeah, it makes perfect sense. And just as there are poor people in a rich country, there are poor countries on a rich planet for the very same reasons. The whole world is reduced to money and violence. That's all we know. The Orange Menace on his dopey little world tour. The embarrassing flattery from world leaders because nobody can admit the emperor has no clothes. Does he actually believe this flattery? It's just the height of cringe. But everybody has to play the game because it's all buying and selling. That's all the world is. That's all we're reduced to. It's nothing but buying and selling and shallow, voyeuristic entertainment. The major news networks opening the top of every hour with disaster porn from the hurricane. The degradation of our climate has itself become voyeuristic entertainment. I use the term disaster porn. There's also the term disaster capitalism. You remember that one? Yeah. I just said a minute ago, the wealthy, the rich folks, they're not hurt by natural disasters. In fact, they capitalize on them. Disaster capitalism. Exploit the situation. Swoop in to devastated areas. Buying up property on the cheap. Developing. The billionaires made $1 trillion during the COVID crisis by swooping in. Yeah. It's not just capitalism. It's not just crony capitalism. It's a permanent disaster capitalism. Naomi Klein, the writer Naomi Klein, used the term shock doctrine in a similar way. Take advantage of some disaster, real or imagined, to swoop in and profit. That's the shock doctrine. You scare everybody into believing that only they can fix things. Yeah, we're in a permanent shock doctrine. Another example, the government shutdown. The rich and powerful taking advantage, politically or economically or both, of an emergency they themselves created. The continuing war in Gaza ensures the flow of money continues into the pockets of arms manufacturers, into the pockets of Washington, D.C. politicians bought and paid for by AIPAC. The immigration debacle, mass deportations, fueled by racism, fueled by the multi-tens of billions of dollars awarded to ICE and Border Patrol by Congress. Fueled by the racism of co-dictator Stephen Miller and his racist buddies in power, obsessed with keeping people outside of our borders. The ridiculous, absurd tariff saga that has world financial markets on edge. The climate crisis. Runaway artificial intelligence. All of it Each one of these, another chapter in the book of disaster capitalism and the permanent shock doctrine. Because we're told we can only say yes to the oligarchs, to the tech titans. We can't have any control over AI that's going to change our lives, over climate crisis. No, because everything's an emergency, and in an emergency, only the disaster capitalists can save us. Only the shock doctrinaires can save us. We can only say yes. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Please, sir. Yes to the status quo. Because, well, you have to say yes, otherwise you risk the bottom line. The bottom line, of course, always being money. That's the only bottom line. We risk our own privilege, those of us who are comfortable enough to live in the middle class of this rich nation. We can't risk that. We can't risk our bottom line, they tell us. Can't fight the system. You risk your paycheck. You risk the food in your kids' bellies. This is a hostage situation. We're hostages. The press, reporters, they can't look the Orange Menace in the eye and call him a crook and a liar. No, it risks their bottom line. World leaders have to kiss his ass. We all have to pretend that the emperor's clothes are not only there, but they're the most beautiful. We are hostages to our own belief in their power. We're hostages to a system that forces us into wage slavery. We're hostages to the idea that there's nothing we can do, but it's a lie. It's the biggest lie. We do have the power. It only requires one thing, and that is that we make the conscious decision to take it, to take the power. It requires that we stop holding up the system. It requires that we stop working. We stop spending. We deprive the disaster capitalists of their only tool. But they come back with that threat, the threat of our bottom line. Well, you'll only hurt yourselves, they say. You can't strike. You'll hurt America. You'll hurt workers. You can't shut down the government fighting for health care. Well, the shutdown will hurt federal workers. It'll hurt those who depend on government subsidies. You can't fight against climate change. Well, you'll hurt coal miners in Virginia. You'll hurt an entire economy that's based on oil and gas energy. You can't fight to protect against the devastating outcomes of runaway AI, against the all-powerful social media algorithms. Well, sure, they destroy democracy. Of course, they're causing a mental health pandemic. Well, that's just the price of doing business. I mean, what's the alternative, they say? Stop progress? Well, how would you do that? Why would you do that? The only way to stop disaster capitalism, the only way to stop the permanent shock doctrine is to change the incentive structure. As long as the disaster capitalists profit from all of this, what are we going to do? You can't have a system that's not based on profits. Oh, you can? You think you can? How? Just try it, says the shock doctrinaire. Deprive the disaster capitalists of their profits? Again, that only hurts workers. You wouldn't want to do that. It hurts those who depend on government subsidies. It hurts you and your family. Because we will hurt you. We will kill you and your family if you attempt to take away our profits. You are our hostages. You have no power. You have no choice. You have no voice. Shut up and take it. Get back in line. Do your job. It's your job to feed the beast. Get back on the assembly line. That's what they're telling you. That's what everyone is telling you. I'm sorry to say it, but even your favorite celebrity liberal talking heads, because even they refuse to seriously advocate for a nationwide general strike, for mass, permanent economic boycott. Either they're afraid of the disaster capitalists and the shock doctrinaires, or they're in league with the disaster capitalists and the shock doctrinaires. Either way, it puts them on the same side as the disaster capitalists and the shock doctrinaires. Well, you can't strike. You can't boycott. You'll hurt the economy. You can't fight for health care. You'll shut down the government and hurt federal workers. You'll hurt poor people who depend on government assistance. It's a powerful argument. It's a winning argument. It's certainly winning so far. And it'll continue to win until we decide together that we won't be hostages to it anymore. The Democrats won't save us. The courts won't save us. The corporations, the politicians, the media won't save us. The tech billionaires certainly won't save us. They are all the disaster capitalists. They are the shock doctrinaires. But we can save us by walking off their assembly line. Black out the system. Stop working for them. Stop buying their crap. Shut it all down. Money is the blood in their veins, and profit is the heartbeat that keeps the money pumping through the system. They tell us that we need them. That's the lie. They tell us that we cannot survive without that beating heart of profit. That's the biggest lie of all. Stop believing the lie. I know it's hard to stop believing a lie you've heard all your life. It's not easy to reject a lie that's supported by virtually everyone around you. I mean, you can't even entertain the thought. Suddenly you feel like you're in a classic Twilight Zone episode, surrounded by corporate humanoids. Well, you know what? You're not. You're not alone. Don't give up. Seek out and find the others among us who are still human. Those who are willing to join forces to defy the profit system. To bring the disaster capitalists and the shock doctrinaires to their knees. To destroy them. To build a new world without them. This and all other episodes can be found on your favorite podcast platform or at the website charlespurcell.com. Follow on Blue Sky and Substack. Thanks to our flagship terrestrial station, River West Radio in Milwaukee. Peter Donalds wrote and performed our theme music. All right, I love you. See you out there.